So quickly before we jump into this video, I want to talk about something that came out today within World War II that is coincidentally released on the same day, but is not actually something that is directly affected by the update and the patch that we're going to be talking about here within this video. Instead of this quick little prelude, I want to talk to you guys about the newest addition to the Twitch Prime Call of Duty World War II loot, which if you guys did not take advantage of last month's loot, that was being a winter supply drop and a winter bribe. And on top of that, the Bon Voyage camo for zombies, that is unfortunately gone at this point, but this upcoming month's is one that is still actually pretty awesome. You get the Bon Voyage camo once again if you missed that, but you also get the ability for a free rare supply drop and a free epic supply drop. Now, for those of you guys wondering what this is, it is something that guarantees you an epic item of rarity, and then two other items that would be just a normal supply drop item as well. So whereas a rare supply drop guarantees you at least a rare item, the epic supply drop guarantees you at least an epic item. So to be able to redeem this, go over to twitch.amazon.com/Call of Duty, and you'll be taken to the landing page for Twitch Prime's loot with World War II. All you have to do is connect your accounts and everything from there, and then you're all set. And within a few hours or so, it'll probably start to roll out and then be in your mail station in the headquarters. So if you guys have these accounts, make sure you link them up and check this out because it's free loot and of course a free epic supply drop. So jumping back into your regularly scheduled content with this one, today we ended up getting a brand new patch for World War II in which a lot of people are really wondering what this would be. It was a 1.8 gigabyte file size, and that's something that is quite hefty, and usually when we see something like this, there's something in there that gives us some major substance. But for players that jumped on right after this update happened, there wasn't really all that much that was noticeable, save from the fact that Winter Siege ended. But that actually is, in and of itself, pretty much the basic gist of this update and this patch. Sledgehammer Games themselves confirmed this over on Twitter, saying that no changes other than to deactivate #Winter Siege. So there was nothing in the sense of the fact that you end up getting weapon changes, rebalancing on things like perks and basic trainings or anything like that. It was essentially just to remove content, which to me is kind of weird. We ended up getting an update to add this stuff into World War II, and then to take it out, we have a larger file size that makes the grand total even bigger. Usually to me, I think that would work out in a different sense, but I'm no game engineer, so perhaps there is a reason for it and how this works. But that said, there is still a lot that changed as a result of this and some stuff that I still want to go over with you guys, despite the fact that pretty much the basic gist of this was to remove Winter Siege. So that said, firstly, visually, let's start out with the small things that are just aesthetics that don't change gameplay or anything like that. That being the fact that snow in the headquarters is now gone, and also in the headquarters, snow globes, the gridiron balls that we ended up having from launch, that got changed into snow globes for the festivities and everything for Christmas time and the Winter Siege event. Those snow globes are now back to the standard gridiron balls that you end up having, but other than that, visually, there's not all that much that was changed around. You'll see that there also was some of the stuff like the fire pits, the lights, those sorts of things are gone as well. But as for other things, bigger things like game modes, that's where we start to see some big changes being made with this most recent patch and update. So the first thing being that, of course, the featured playlist is back to Carrington 24/7. No double XP, nothing like that. Carrington is also once again a season pass holder exclusive map. That free period of where Winter Carrington and everyone could play on it for no charge, that is up right now. So if you have the season pass, you can still end up accessing the Carrington 24/7 playlist, but if you guys do not, that's something in which you won't have access to the map itself. But that said, double XP is no longer active, no double division or weapon XP on top of that, and modes like gun game are gone along with the removal of, as we mentioned, Winter Carrington. The next double XP event is probably in my books going to be right around the launch of DLC 1, in which we'd probably also see a 24/7 DLC 1 playlist for players as well, but I wouldn't imagine that the DLC is only strictly in that playlist there, but more so globally as well. So that said, that's kind of the big removal in what we had in Winter Siege with this update being removed also, but then we start getting into more so stuff that people really cared about in terms of collection items, the weapons, the DLC, all that good stuff. Is it still there? Well, firstly, let's start top down. Butcher is no longer the quartermaster, and the collections for Winter Siege are actually locked. So firstly, I'm still kind of bummed that we couldn't get the Butcher uniform. I feel like that was totally a missed opportunity and something that was incredibly awesome. Could have easily done it as a collection of its own, or perhaps as Modern Warfare Master did with Price's character as a final collection reward for completing all collections with Winter Siege items. But following suit, winter supply drops, winter bribes, daily orders, and contracts for winter items have since been removed. But that said, if you've not gotten all your weapons, don't fret just yet because you still can In some capacities, though, it's just a little bit harder. So while the direct ability for winter items to be purchased via armory credits or even real money with supply drops is gone, there are alternative ways to attain them. So let's start out with the base of the DLC weapons. So the Sten, the Gewehr 43, the GPMG, the Ice Pick, and the Trench Knife, all at their bases are still incredibly easy to obtain and unlock, and it doesn't come down to any random RNG of supply drops or anything like that. I was actually really curious at how they would take this situation and the scenario and how they'd approach it after Winter Siege is done, and I'm really glad that this is the way that they did it. But if you go to Major Howard's, you can see that the special orders that you can activate are still the rotation for the base variants of each DLC weapon. So personally, my fear was that once the event ended, we'd end up seeing the rotation disappear, ergo permanently locking the DLC weapons with the Winter Siege event, but now seeing how it's done, that will continue on a cycle until probably presumably the next DLC weapons drop. It's nice to see that we can still get these if we don't have them, and all for free. It's not something where you have to test your luck and everything like that with supply drops just to get the base variants in regular rare supply drops. You can get them for free just by completing games. You just have to make sure you catch the rotation once again with Major Howard like we had the past couple of weeks. Now, as for specific variants, if you want a specific variant of the loot for Winter Siege, don't fret once again, because surprisingly, though the direct ways to get them are closed, we still do have ways to get Winter Siege items. So if you go over to the Quartermaster and you check out the Winter Siege collection sets, you'll see that you can't purchase anything directly and you're prompted with a dialogue of something pertaining to the event being over. Sorry, you're kind of out of luck. That sort of gist. But if you end up opening up regular supply drops, both normal and rare supply drops, you have the random chance of getting Winter Siege items. Now, this allows you to still be able to get those variants that you're hoping for, and granted, perhaps at a much lower rate than that of if you were to open up winter supply drops themselves, but it still allows you to get these variants and these items that you're hopeful for in the Winter Siege collections. So I haven't quite pulled out the specific percentages just yet. I haven't tested enough of my own data samples and the samples of players that I've seen in the HQ, but it seems relative enough that it is in the ballpark of being possible to still finish collections, barring no dupes, in a relatively quick fashion, but also slow enough that you aren't getting an item every single supply drop that you open, as if you would comparable to a winter supply drop. That said, you can also still get those weapon variants like the Heroics directly out of supply drops just randomly, because you'll get those intermittent winter items within regular supply drops now, but you can also slowly chip away at the collection items that you can normally no longer buy with armory credits, because once again, you're still getting this random item from the Winter Siege collection that if it's not a dupe, you still can end up getting that, unlocking and chipping away at that final collection item for each of those Winter Siege variants and items. So while of course it's going to take a little bit longer to naturally unlock these, you still can naturally unlock things just at a slower pace. So slower process, but same outcome. Now the final thing that was updated with this most recent update and patch to World War II is actually one thing that was actually added into the game, and perhaps that is something that takes up the majority of this 1.8 gigabyte download, but I can't imagine so. Once again, I'm no game engineer, so I couldn't tell you how much this actually takes up in terms of adding into the game, but the hardcore community has had some of their prayers answered. That is something in which today we ended up getting the addition of hardcore kill confirmed within World War II. Something that if you guys love hardcore, probably one of the best modes to rank up in, as is put into hardcore, which is once again, people think even better to rank up in, and so therefore it's kind of a match made in heaven. So this has finally been added in. It was something that I was kind of surprised was not actually in the launch of the game. We ended up seeing a couple of different modes within World War II's hardcore modes, but hardcore kill confirmed being a staple of recent years, it was interesting to not see this being added in. But nonetheless, it is there now. It seems like it's going to be a stable and permanent playlist within World War II. So if you guys play hardcore and you guys really wanted to see hardcore kill confirmed, make sure you guys check that out, because it's definitely going to be nice and populated now that people are seeing it's a brand new mode and playlist within World War II. But all that said, with the conclusion of Winter Siege within World War II, this primarily is focused on that. So if you're hoping for some rebalancing of weapons, of basic trainings, of some maybe updates to maps, unfortunately that's not within this update and patch for World War II, but potentially in the future and in the coming days to weeks. We know there's going to be one coming up within probably about a week before DLC 1, so right around that time frame of January 24th to 25th, potentially at the earliest, and then thinking about that, that's only in a couple of weeks' time, so who knows, maybe there are some things on the horizon, some new DLC content, some updates and balancing issues. Whatever it may be though, we're going to see some stuff still continuing as the year progresses, but for the time being right now, it was just to simply remove a lot of what we've known from World War II in the past couple of weeks. So that said, that's where we're gonna wrap it up. Wanted to keep you guys updated here with everything because a lot of people were asking, what was this patch about? How were these things going to affect the gameplay? Are there any major changes? And when it comes down to it, a lot of it was really just self-explanatory. Surprisingly, it was a large patch, but not all that much substance in terms of the big changes. So that said, love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. Do you think that there should have been some other things tackled all at once? Do you think that this sufficed? Do you think that maybe there's some things hidden underneath the surface in which maybe we have some new content coming to the Quartermaster that we just don't know of just yet by this file size? Whatever it may be, let me know your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding best class setups, tips, tricks, news, updates like this, all that good stuff we got you covered here up on the channel. And I want to thank you guys once again for 100,000 subscribers. I know that we've touched on this every single video since we hit it, but truly it does mean the world to me, and it's an insanely surreal thing. So thank you all so much for the support recently. If you guys want to follow me over on Twitter as well, that's the best place to get connected with me outside of YouTube. I practically live on Twitter, so if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, link is down there in the description below. But all that said and out of the way, hope you guys have a fantastic day. Thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care, and peace.